For those who have followed me for a while, I'm personally not in the habit of making fireside chats frequently these days because, I rather just tweet and make memes and be a little more low-key. I'm not looking to be a famous or influencer or anything. However, in the wake of recent events, I must break my silence. I composed this fireside address standing on an American Revolutionary War battlefield in New Jersey. I do so for good reason. First, I'm going to cite the 96th mayor of New York City from 1918 to 1925, John Hylan. The real menace of our republic is the invisible loyalist royalist government, which like a giant octopus sprawls its slimy legs over our cities, states, and nation. To depart from mere generalizations, let me say that at the head of this octopus are the loyalist royalist Rockefeller Standard Oil interests and a small group of powerful loyalist royalist banking houses generally referred to as the international bankers. The little cabal of powerful, loyalist, royalist, international bankers virtually run the United States government for their own selfish purposes. They practically control both parties, write political platforms, make catspaws of party leaders, use the leading men of private organizations, and resort to every device to place in nomination for high public office only such candidates as will be amenable to the dictates of corrupt big business. These loyalist, royalist international bankers and loyalist, royalist Rockefeller Standard Oil interests control the majority of the newspapers and magazines in this country. They use the columns of these papers to club into submission or to drive out of office public officials who refuse to do the bidding of the powerful corrupt cliques which compose the loyalist, royalist, invisible government. It operates under a cover of self-created screen, seizes our executive officers, legislative bodies, schools, courts, newspapers, and every agency created for the public protection. What do the words of former New York City Mayor John Hylan, and if you've been to Staten Island, that's Mr. Hylan Boulevard, what do they have to do with the death of Charlie Kirk, you ask? It has everything to do with the death of Charlie Kirk. Whoever really was responsible for the job being done on Charlie Kirk, because I'm not wholly buying the official Tyler Robinson story. This is like Lee Harvey Oswald 2.0. On a day before 9/11, where the country goes into ritualistic mourning over the occurrence related to a terrorist attack that is indirectly linked to radical jihadist groups that were originally propped up by the loyalist royalist government to fight communism in Afghanistan in the 1980s, just so they could attack the United States in 2001. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was the work of a highly trained professional hitman who was probably connected to the same aforementioned institutional forces and who knew just exactly where to place their shot. And watching the video, Charlie Kirk didn't die in the hospital. He died instantly and was dead on arrival. So, point blank, Charlie Kirk was most likely made into a sacrificial lamb by the loyalist, royalist, invisible government, alternatively known as the Deep State, just before the 24th anniversary of 9/11. You have to be incredibly naive or incredibly stupid to believe the official story of the Charlie Kirk assassination solely being related to the individualist and adventurous motivation of some radical Antifa leftist named Tyler Robinson who wanted to prove his love to his trans girlfriend, oh, so much that he went on randomly popping Charlie Kirk. Okay? There are very deep divisions within the ruling class right now over questions of globalism versus nationalism. And there are most definitely much higher powers involved here. And the job on Charlie Kirk was probably planned by a faction within the ruling class for quite some time now. This was not a random horrific occurrence done on the spur of the moment on any random old day. So the aftermath. The neoconservative influencers on the political right, like Laura Loomer, are blaming the radical anti-Republican left as expected. And what do individuals on the radical anti-Republican left do? They are taking the bait and celebrating Charlie Kirk's assassination. The loyalist, royalist mainstream media exploits these very stupid individuals on the radical anti-Republican left who are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk like the reactionary and vulgar mob that they are. However, conservatives are, they're also taking the bait too. And the division and polarization within this country grows and grows and grows, and this is systemically being done on design. The institutional forces that comprise of the loyalist, royalist, invisible government, alternatively known as the deep state, are, and have been for a while, manufacturing conditions for a civil war. Yeah, the train's coming. Isn't that, as I'm picking up, within the citizenry, once they pull the plug on the economy and intend on destroying the Republic of the United States of America from within. The Charlie Kirk assassination is just another domino that fell in this grand design of the loyalist, royalist, invisible government. While I am religiously deistic and anti-monarchist, economically left-wing, and I'm a Hamiltonian neoclassical Republican. When I say Republican, I'm referring to the Republican principle, the ideology of classical republicanism, which is opposed to direct or indirect rule by hereditary nobility and relates to the concept of common, non-noble-born people being fit for self-government and government that works for the common good of all of its people. I am not referring to the GOP, but I won't lie, I am registered as GOP, and I do vote GOP in local elections. With the sole exception of spending a whole week reveling and celebrating the death of Queen Elizabeth II back in September 2022, who I regarded as the true national antagonist of the Republic, I will say that our citizenry really should avoid reveling in or celebrating tragic circumstances that befall our fellow American countrymen, fellow American countrywomen, and fellow American citizens, no matter how much we may disagree with them or even find their politics to be contemptible, regardless if they identify as politically left or politically right. Personally, being culturally centrist, I did not agree with much of what Charlie Kirk had to say when he was alive. I do feel like he, and not the best of faith, used his religious values to alienate and fuel cultural divides within our citizenry. But still, nonetheless, Charlie Kirk was a champion of free speech and a champion of the First Amendment, and he must be upheld in that regard. And he and his family must receive due justice for Charlie Kirk's callous and cold-blooded assassination. This crap celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk coming from the anti-Republican left needs to stop at once. You kids and partisans need to grow up a little bit and show more respect to your fellow non-noble-born, common-born citizens within the Republic, even if they are socially conservative. This crap coming from the anti-Republican right needs to stop at once. You kids and partisans need to grow up a little bit and show more respect to your fellow non-noble, common-born citizens within the Republic, even if they are socially liberal. Charlie Kirk's death was not directly a production of radical anti-Republican left Antifa. Antifa was the proxy, the cat's paw of deeper institutional forces of the loyalist, royalist, invisible government, which also likes to use Zionist cat's paws and proxies and convinces very stupid and race essentialist people on the alt-right, like Nick Fuentes and Jake Shields, to place blame on the Jews, who have been the long favorite historical scapegoat of the loyalist, royalist, invisible government. You want to know who the real culprit is, kids? It's not Russia, like you very stupid gaslit MSNBC liberals say. It's not Communist Party China, like you very stupid and gaslit Fox News conservatives say. It's your historical anti-Republican royal quote-unquote allies who you're supposed to be independent from, who in private do not believe that common non-noble born people, doesn't matter if you're rich or poor or are fit to govern themselves, and who have long sabotaged and corrupted both public and private institutions in the United States to wage a silent, indirect, and undeclared war by proxy on the common, non-noble citizenry of this still very young, very foolish, and very naive 249-year-old republic. Ironically, Wisconsin Senator Joseph McCarthy was half correct in the 1950s. He was wrong because, it's not the work of communists. The British are coming. The British are coming. The British are coming. And the British made Charlie Kirk their latest victim. Wake up and remember your true history, America, because you're losing your country and you're losing your independence. That's all I have to say. This is RED-Illuminati. God save our American state.